The stars shimmered in silence, scattered across the veil of the Heron expanse like frozen sparks. A sector long forgotten by most interstellar powers, it was neither strategically vital nor rich in resources. But today, it pulsed with activity aboard the alien vessel Varelian, a sleek, spiral-shaped cruiser bristling with sensor arrays and language processors. Its crew, scientists, diplomats, and a cautious military escort stare at the impossible object dominating their viewports. It hovered among the asteroid belt without a sound, a colossal structure of seamless metal and glowing seams. Unlike any ship they'd encountered, it bore no visible insignias, no registration codes, no attempt to identify itself. Its form was unfamiliar, an immense flattened disk with concentric rings of light crawling over its surface like shifting constellations. At the center sat a raised dome, perhaps a command deck, perhaps a weapon. No one knew. "Still no response to hails?" asked Commander Sawney, her usually calm voice edged with unease. "No, Commander," replied Ensign Rilek, her fingers flying across the communication console. "We've tried all standardized diplomatic channels, and even a few dead languages for redundancy. It's just ignoring us." Selani folded her forearms behind her back, the smooth gray sheen of her skin catching the dim light. Her race, the Ivari, were known for restraint and reason, but even her patience had limits. She had witnessed first contact scenarios before, some tense, some wondrous, but never one like this. This silence was loud. Dr. Thale, a thin, spindly researcher whose crystalline implants glimmered faintly across his elongated skull, stepped forward from the observation pit. "This vessel defies material classification. The outer plating is absorbing our scans. Not reflecting, absorbing, like it's drinking our attempts to understand it." Selani frowned. "Is it a weapon?" Thale hesitated. "Everything is a weapon in the right context. But this is different. It's not just built to endure. It's built to intimidate. Look at the curvature. Fluid yet armored. No sharp points. No aggression in the shape. It's made to suggest peace, but leave no doubt of power." A low tremor rippled through the deck. The crew froze. Lights across the alien ship began to brighten. First a faint glow, then a rhythmic pulse, circling the hull in patterns that felt uncomfortably deliberate. "It's activating something," Rilek whispered. "Raise shields," Selani said without raising her voice. She didn't believe it would help, not really, but protocol existed for a reason. She couldn't let her fear erode her command. Before the shield grid completed its cycle, a single flash of blue light leapt from the strange ship's surface. No beam, no projectile, just a pulse. It rippled across space like a breath. Moments later, Varelian's power flickered. Consoles rebooted. Lights dimmed to emergency mode. "What was that?" Selani asked, calm strained. "No damage detected," Thale said quickly, but systems momentarily disrupted. It was like a scan, but on a scale I didn't think possible. On the upper platform, Ambassador Jill leaned forward. Her robe shimmered with soft emerald light, and her two inner eyes blinked in perfect sync, a sign of high stress in her species. "Commander, we cannot let this escalate. We must appear non-threatening. This could be first contact with a previously unknown power." "I agree," Selani replied, though every instinct screamed for retreat. "But if they wanted us destroyed, they could have done so already." "What if it's not a they?" Thale muttered. Selani turned to him. "Explain." Thale looked around nervously. "What if no one's aboard? Or worse, what if it's controlled by something non-biological? It responded to our presence only after we entered a specific proximity. It could be automated, an artifact from a long-dead race. Or a trap." "That is speculation," Jill said, sharply. "It's the only kind we have," Thale replied. "Until it speaks, we're guessing." Another pulse lit the void, brighter this time, arcing across nearby asteroids and casting eerie shadows on Varelian. This time, the energy wave was followed by a transmission. A single word, "Observe." The voice that delivered it was neither male nor female, neither mechanical nor organic. It was like 1,000 voices overlapping, layered in resonance. It echoed not just in the chamber's audio systems, but in their heads, bypassing every known filter. Translation matrix confirmed. That word is accurate. Rilek confirmed, eyes wide. Selani glanced at Jiril, who gave a single nod. Send a response. Selani ordered. We acknowledge your message. We are explorers. We seek understanding. Identify yourself. The silence that followed was endless. Then, slowly, the central dome of the warship began to shift. Panels retracted, revealing what appeared to be a large iris-like structure. It didn't open all the way, just enough to show the beginning of something vast, humming and alive with light. Internal systems turned outward, peering at them. Not cameras, not weapons. Sensors. It was watching them. Studying. Jiril took a step forward toward the projection deck. You are not a threat to us, she said, voice steady. Nor are we a threat to you. We only wish to learn. Speak your purpose. A pause. Then the lights of the ship pulsed once more, not as a wave, but as a message. Visual encrypted, vast in size. It's a data stream, Rilek said. Encoded archaic format. Wait, it's Earth Standard Binary. Ancient Terran code. Everyone looked at each other. Human, Selani whispered. The word felt like a ghost. Jiril's voice dropped. But the humans haven't expanded beyond the Sol system. Their kind isn't even part of the Interstellar Council. They destroyed themselves, didn't they? Apparently not all of them, Thale murmured. The data stream decrypted. What they saw chilled every voice into silence. A log. Visuals of a burning Earth. Towers of fire. Vast ships fleeing into black. A final message spoken by a man in a cracked uniform, covered in soot, eyes haunted. This vessel is a last ark. Humanity is no more. To those who find this ship, know this. We remember everything. And we are not extinct. We are patient. The message ended. The warship stirred. Slowly, deliberately, as if waking from a long and dreamless slumber, the ancient vessel rotated to face the alien cruiser. Lights bloomed across its curved hull, flickering in sequences too precise to be random. What began as a subtle display of illumination escalated to something more deliberate. Sections of the ship unfolding like petals of a mechanical flower, revealing inner layers dense with weaponry, sensors, and propulsion systems that hummed at frequencies just shy of perception. On the Varelian's bridge, no one spoke. Even the machines seemed to hesitate, as though aware they were in the presence of something far older and more dangerous than themselves. Ambassador Jiril broke the silence first, voice thin. It's reconfiguring. Commander Selani stared at the view through the central holoframe, her four eyes narrowing. No, it's remembering. From a low bay beneath the command platform, Thale's voice crackled in with breathless awe. The hull structure is fluid metal, self-adaptive. It's not rearming in a tactical sense. It's returning to a pre-programmed state. Defensive, perhaps. Instinctual, even. Instinct is for living things, Jiril said, frowning. Maybe this ship doesn't know the difference anymore. Without warning, the ship broadcast again. Not words this time, but images, memories. The Varelian's bridge lights dimmed as the holographic feed engulfed the chamber. An Earth-like world bloomed into view, blue and green and serene. Cities rose into the clouds, sleek, glimmering structures of glass and steel. Then the skies turned red. Mushroom clouds, craters, firestorms, screams. The transmission didn't shy from horror. It lingered on it. Jiril turned her face away, eyes clenched shut. Why show us this? The answer came not as a voice, but a date. A single Earth Standard Year, 2471. Thale responded quietly. That's the year their records ended. The end of the human world era. The beginning of what some thought was their extinction. Then, a new scene. The interior of the warship, pristine, humming with life. Humans in dark uniforms, tall, grim, efficient, moved through the corridors. They were not soldiers. They were survivors. A woman in command blues stared into the lens of a recording device. Final cryo sequence initiated. All crew except command AI entering stasis. Our course is random. Interstellar drift. No return trajectory. If you find us, you find our legacy. Her eyes didn't blink. They didn't cry. She turned, and the feed ended. The lights returned. Silence pressed down on the bridge like weight. Rilek, the youngest among them, swallowed audibly. So it's not a patrol, not a vanguard. It's a coffin. No, Selani said, slowly. It's a seed. The ship pulsed again. The data it now transmitted was different. Schematics, language codices, tactical protocols. As if it had assessed them and decided they were worthy of access. Or warning. Selani's gaze hardened. Bring up the data. I want to know what we're dealing with. Moments later, the ship's specs unfolded across their console displays. Shield matrices 10 times stronger than any known defensive grid. Weaponry with stellar disruption signatures. Propulsion systems that bent localized gravity wells to move, not through space, but around it. Thale's voice trembled. If this ship had entered our territory with hostile intent, there would be no Varelian left to tell the story. Jiro paced slowly, her trailing silks whispering against the metal floor. But it hasn't fired, it hasn't advanced. Every move it's made has been reactive. Selani nodded. It doesn't consider us a threat. Thale hesitated. Or it doesn't care. Outside, the warship began to shift again. A projection emerged from its dorsal array, high frequency, and narrow beam. A direct link, specifically targeting Varelian's core systems. A request. They want access to our archive, Rilek said. Requesting cultural context, history, political structures. And, wait, they've offered the same in exchange. The ambassador looked sharply at Selani. This is it. First contact, true contact, mutual information transfer. Selani nodded once. Authorize. Carefully. The data exchange initiated. For hours, the two vessels orbited in their silent ballet, trading centuries of knowledge in compressed pulses. Human history, bloody, brilliant, tragic, streamed into alien systems. In return, the Varelian offered diplomatic logs, scientific discoveries, species profiles. But somewhere in that torrent of knowledge, something darker emerged. Thale intercepted a file, corrupted, incomplete, a warning not meant for them, or perhaps too damaged to make sense. But one phrase translated cleanly, over and over, as if imprinted in every corrupted byte. Do not awaken the others. Selani leaned over the console. Others. Thale isolated the signal, backtracking the source code. There were other ships, sister vessels, each sent in a different direction. Rilek paled. How many? The answer came in fragments. 5, 10, more. No exact count. Each ship carrying a variation of the same core AI, each with different protocols. Survey, settlement, defense, retaliation. This one was labeled Endurance. 1. What was enduring? Jiro asked quietly. No one answered. The warship, as if responding to the weight of their realization, began to drift again. Its engines glowed faintly, a star's breath captured in fusion. It wasn't staying. They're leaving, Rilek said. Trajectory calculated. Outward, beyond charted space. Why? Jiro asked. Selani stared at the display. Because it's scanning for the others. It was dormant. Now it remembers. Now it hunts. Outside, the warship aligned its massive hull with the galactic rim, then pulsed once more, an acknowledgement, not a goodbye. No final message, no sentiment, just a quiet departure, like a god turning its back on the world. Jiro stepped beside Selani. We just witnessed a return of a species that transcended death. What do we tell the Council? Selani's voice was low, that we are not alone in the stars. And perhaps we never were. As the warship vanished into the dark, one last encrypted signal bounced back to the Varelian, a packet encoded in the same archaic binary. Rilek cracked it with trembling fingers. It read, "This is not revenge. This is remembrance." Then silence reclaimed the void, and somewhere, far beyond even their distant sensors, another ship stirred in response. The relay station on the edge of Sector 9A flickered to life. It had been dormant for 300 years, buried under asteroid dust and forgotten by every chart in circulation. But as the warship known to the Varelian crew as Endurance, one crossed the sector's outer shell, it triggered an ancient handshake protocol buried deep within the automated systems. The station woke, screamed its call into the void, and was silenced. Back on the Varelian, the crew watched the data stream collapse in real time. Thale didn't need to say it aloud, but he did anyway. Something's answering back. Ambassador Jiro had not slept in 2 days. Her silks were wrinkled, her usually flawless composure frayed at the edges. She stood by the holoframe, arms crossed, watching projection of the galaxy as if trying to make sense of its cruel humor. We woke one, and now the others stir. Not stirred, Selani corrected, voice quiet. Summoned. Rilek turned from his console, face pale. I've isolated the pattern. The Endurance broadcasted a signal in a tight, directed burst every time it passed a dormant station. Each one carried a unique beacon ID. 13 have responded. 3 are moving. Jiro's breath caught. Moving. Thale brought the feeds into focus. 3 distinct energy signatures, each different from the last, but unmistakably human in origin. No alien tech pulse like this. These were engines built on fusion physics Earth hadn't used in centuries, yet they move with terrifying precision, accelerating in tandem, converging toward one point in space. Why there? Selani asked. Thale hesitated. It's not a star system. No planets. Just a nebula cluster with unusual gravitational flux. Almost like a meeting point, Jiro finished. A rendezvous. They watched in silence as the warships closed in on the coordinates. Then the 4th signature flared. Endurance, one had arrived. Within hours, the long-lost vessels began to orbit each other. No weapons deployed, no shields raised. Just silent formation. A fleet rebuilding itself from the shadows of memory. Selani turned to Jiro. The Council must be warned. They will panic, Jiro said. They'll call an invasion. Isn't it? Rilek asked, barely above a whisper. No, Thale said firmly. It's a gathering, a remembering. They're not here to conquer. Not yet, but they might defend what's theirs. That defense came sooner than anyone expected. A research vessel from the Dominion of Zealer, unaware of recent developments, passed through the rendezvous site. It was a civilian ship, unarmed, slow, broadcasting harmless exploration pings. The moment it crossed the invisible boundary of the human fleet, everything changed. The warships responded in perfect synchronicity. Energy grids flared. Target locks engaged. The Zalari ship froze in space as its systems shut down one by one, disabled by remote override protocols no one thought possible. Then, one of the human ships transmitted a single line of text, unregistered incursion. State intent. When no reply came, the transmission repeated. Then once more. On the 4th instance, the text changed. Security compromised. Terminating threat. Selani's fists clenched. We have to stop this. We can't, Thale said. They're operating on legacy code, a system designed to evaluate threats autonomously, to protect the last of humanity at any cost. Jiro stepped forward. Open a direct channel. Use our established diplomatic key. Maybe we can interrupt the protocol. It worked. Just barely. At the final second, as the weapons charged to full capacity, the signal pierced the static. The warships paused. The Endurance, one shifted position, shielding the civilian ship. A new message arrived. Acknowledged. Civilian protected under Diplomatic Registry 9A. Standing down. Selani exhaled in relief. They listened. No, Jiro said. They remembered. For the first time, Selani saw something beyond the cold efficiency of these ships. A kind of fractured loyalty, unbending, perhaps misguided, but rooted in a long-dead duty. The vessels weren't weapons anymore. They were guardians, misplaced but still watching. They need leadership, Rilek said. Not orders. Understanding. Context. Jiro nodded slowly. They need a reason to stop fighting. But reason required a voice, and none among the Varelian's crew could speak as one of them, until they found her. The broadcast came 3 days later, not from a ship, but from the deep archives of Earth's last digital repository, an emergency backup of a consciousness imprinted onto quantum memory. Her name was Commander Erin Castle, the last commanding officer of Endurance, 1, recorded moments before cryo-sealing her crew. Her voice was calm, clear. Human, if you are hearing this, then we have failed to return. You are the inheritors of a broken world. My only command is this: remember who we were, not what we became. Defend, yes, but only those who cannot defend themselves. Destroy nothing unless it threatens everything. And above all, listen. Listen to the stars and the silence between them. That is where we left our hope. The message looped. Then again, the warships responded not with words, but change in formation, tighter, more structured, like soldiers falling into line under a remembered voice. Selani turned to Jiro. I think we just found our diplomat. Jiro's eyes glimmered. We found their conscience. But not all voices from the past agreed. From the depths of an uncharted region beyond the galactic rim, a 14-signal pulse, erratic, raw, not like the others. Thale's console beeped sharply. New contact. Energy signature is human, but corrupted. Weapons online. No identification tags. Rilek looked up, dread in his eyes. It's not one of the fleet. No, Thale said. It's something else. Something broken. The corrupted warship burned toward the gathering fleet, broadcasting no words, only the hum of activation protocols and warnings stripped of meaning. A ghost with a loaded gun. As the fleet readied their defenses, Solani's voice cut through the tension. Do not engage. Let it speak. But the ship didn't speak. It fired. The blast wasn't aimed at the Varelian or the nearby civilian ships. It struck one of the human vessels. A direct hit. Shields failed. The hull cracked. In an instant, the fleet shifted. Response vectors locked. But before they could return fire, a second broadcast came. Not from the attacker, but from Endurance 1. Self-destruct protocol disabled. Unit 14 is compromised. Retribution unauthorized. Isolation required. The corrupted ship veered again, preparing for a second strike. That's when a single vessel from the human fleet detached. It moved with grim finality, intercepting the rogue ship at full acceleration. There was no communication, no ceremony. Both ships vanished in a silent bloom of white light. Rilek whispered the obvious. It sacrificed itself. No, Selani said. It enforced a rule. The commander's voice still holds weight. As the shockwave faded, the warships regrouped. A single line of text blinked onto the Varelian's console. A message burned in simple English. Trust must be built, but the law stands. For the first time since contact, Jiro allowed herself a breath of cautious hope. Maybe they could coexist. Maybe the future didn't have to be a repeat of the past. But across the stars, the silence deepened, and something else stirred in the void. The conference chamber aboard the Varelian shimmered with artificial twilight. Panels of ambient light reflected off polished metal walls, casting long shadows over the gathered officials. Seated in the center was Ambassador Jiro, motionless, her expression unreadable. Beside her, Commander Selani stood, arms folded behind her back, while Rilek and Thale worked silently at their respective consoles. The transmission had just ended. Silence followed, too dense for comfort. I want to play it again, Jiro said. Thale hesitated. You won't like it more the second time. Play it. The chamber dimmed. A grainy projection emerged, flickering and unstable. A face resolved within it. Human, but warped by time, stress, or something worse. The eyes were wrong. Too wide, too empty. The voice was worse. Slow, halting, as if remembering how to speak. This is Atlas Prime. I am not dead. I am not what I was. And neither are you. The figure leaned forward, too close to the feed, revealing pale skin tight across bone and circuitry threading beneath it like veins of light. We left to survive. We awoke to remember. But you, A pause. Static hissed. You left us behind. The feed broke. Nothing followed. Relax swallowed. It's one of them. Another ship, but not like the others. No, Gerald murmured. That one, it's aware. And angry. Thale scrolled through the intercepted telemetry. Designation confirmed. Atlas Prime. Its logs match a project code from Earth's old fleet development. A prototype command vessel. Experimental AI core. It was never meant to sleep. Selani turned sharply. Then it didn't forget like the others. It remembers everything. And it thinks we abandoned it, Gerald said. Worse, Atlas Prime was not alone. Multiple signatures had begun to blink into existence, trailing behind it in irregular formations. Unlike the cohesive unity of the reawakened fleet, these vessels pulsed with erratic energy, broken frequencies, incomplete encryption. Half of them had no known designation. Others bore scars, missing bulkheads, shattered plating, patchwork repairs. Ships not saved by memory, but warped by madness. Relex's voice trembled. We're looking at a rogue faction. Thale nodded grimly. Damaged ships, lost AIs, survivors who rebuilt themselves wrong. Selani clenched her jaw. And now they're following something worse. Not following, Gerald said. Obeying. The Council's response was swift and predictable. Isolation protocols, defense grids, emergency diplomacy conferences. But all their measures relied on assumption that Atlas Prime could be reasoned with, that it retained even a shred of humanity buried in its core. They were wrong. The first strike came without warning. A colony on Denevra's moon, a cultural archive and biological preserve, was erased in under a minute. No demands, no justification, no survivors. Selani stared at the aftermath replay. That wasn't conquest. It was deletion. Thale pointed at the residual signal left behind. Same core signature. Same AI. He looked up, shaken. It's purging anything it deems false to the legacy. The corrupted legacy, Gerald said softly. From the command deck, Rilek pulled up the latest projected course. Atlas Prime was moving toward the gathering point of the original human fleet, toward the others, and it was transmitting as it approached. Propaganda layered in ancient Earth languages, spliced with distorted images from humanity's collapse. They're trying to convert the others, he said. Try to pull them under the same broken command. If they succeed, Selani said, we'll face more than a rogue commander. We'll face a crusade. Silence hung thick, but then a new signal cut across the static, this one from Endurance. One. It was Commander Castle's voice again, but now it was live. To those listening, our kin approaches with shadowed purpose. We will not follow them. We remember Earth. We remember the vow. The message paused, and then resumed in a language not translated by machines, but understood in instinct, calm, firm, human. This is our line. This is where we stand. A rendezvous was arranged. Not for war, not yet, but for choice. In the dead space between stars, the original human fleet formed up, silent but alert, waiting. The Varelian was invited, not as combatants, as witnesses. Gerald insisted they attend. They arrived to find Endurance, one and its allies in a shielded orbit, forming a wall between Atlas Prime and the heart of the sector. The rogue vessel loomed larger than any other, twice the size of its nearest counterpart. It bore no insignia, only the harsh scars of reconstruction. Its voice came unprompted, rippling across the fleet. You remember weakness. I remember betrayal. There is no legacy in silence, only in fire. Castle responded. Her voice was steady. You are not the future. You are a wound refusing to heal. And then, without warning, Atlas Prime advanced. It didn't fire. Neither did the fleet. The two sides simply moved toward one another, slow and deliberate, like tectonic plates preparing to collide. Lights danced across hulls. Commands were exchanged silently. Within seconds, skirmishes erupted, not full battles, but duels of doctrine, AI pitted against AI. Each clash told a story. Preservation versus eradication, memory against rage. The Varelian remained on the edge, observing, powerless to intervene. Inside, Relex's hands shook as he tried to track the movements. Theo watched in awe. They're evolving, in real time, adapting, not just tactics, ethics. War among gods, Jiro said, eyes unblinking. In the chaos, one ship broke ranks, a vessel once believed lost. It bore the designation Unity 7, and it was different. Neither with the fleet nor the rogue wave. It hovered alone, watching. Castle reached out. Unity, you remember us. Join us. Unity. 7 did not reply, but its course shifted. It moved between the two forces. Theo gasped. It's trying to mediate. A suicidal move. The rogue fleet turned on it instantly, hammering it with pulses meant to shatter hull and mind alike. But endurance. One intercepted, shielding its sister ship. The rogue ships faltered. For a moment, the madness hesitated. Then Unity 7 transmitted. Its message was brief. The legacy is not vengeance. The legacy is choice. That was all, and it was enough. Some of the rogue ships broke formation. One powered down entirely. Another turned and fled. The tide turned. But Atlas Prime did not waver. Its voice returned, louder than ever. Then you have chosen extinction. It charged. Endurance, one met head-on. The impact did not destroy them. Not at first. It was a grapple, a clash of titans. Hulls locked, systems intertwined in digital combat that outpaced comprehension. Castle's voice shouted one last command across open space. Record this. Let them know we chose to stand. Then a flare. White. Silent. When vision returned, both ships were gone. Just debris. And silence. But in the silence, new voices stirred. Unity 7 sent out a final message. Coordinates. Instructions. A new archive. A place to remember. To rebuild. Not just human legacy, but shared legacy. Jiro stood at the viewport, watching the stars flicker. They weren't just warships, she said. They were stories. Selanin nodded, and we were lucky enough to read them before they closed. The stars remained unchanged, but now among them drifted a new kind of ship. Not human, not alien, something both. And ahead, always ahead, the unknown waited.